Hello, everybody. It is Saturday, May 26, 2018, 4:48 p.m. All right, for those of you that don't know, quick update for you. Mississippi and Florida have officially declared states of emergency ahead of Storm Alberto. I'm reading a lot about how this storm, even though early on in the day it was kind of scattered around, it wasn't looking too healthy, but again, the projected models are all showing that this thing is going to get its act together. Most, if not all, the models now have it, if anything, clipping Cuba, but pretty much shooting the gap through the Gulf of Mexico. I know some of this information is repetitive, but as far as the storm's path, not much has changed, and that's pretty significant because it means that chances are, sorry about that, that's my alert, chances are that that is what the likely outcome would be. Again, we can't guarantee or put 100% ever on weather. That's how it goes. You could see people all over the place in these states getting ready. I will not be surprised to see Alabama as well as Louisiana go as far as declaring state of emergency also. Now, let's keep in mind, guys, this is a subtropical storm right now. It does have plenty of time to strengthen. Regardless, though, these are significant storms. I mean, we get thunderstorms that are strong enough to do damage to our homes and stuff like that. So just because we were spoiled last year with a lot of strong storms, people think that when it's not a Category 5 or 4 or 3 hurricane that it's nothing to worry about, and that is far from true. These storms bring a lot of storm surge, a lot of moisture depending on their makeup. Different storms bring different qualities. This does not look like it will be a super wind maker. It will be more of a rainmaker and just an inconvenience. The stronger it gets, though, we need to keep an eye on right around this area because all models are showing it kind of develops along this area, still has a little bit of misshape to it, but then by the time it gets right around the border, Mississippi, Alabama, and the Panhandle, it begins to really tighten up, and you almost see that hurricane quality. The pressure drops. We are actually below 1,000 now. We are at 999. We can look at that. Well, first, let's just go in order here. So we got the tropical storm watches going all the way from New Orleans to Apalachicola. Okay, hopefully. Again, we spoke about this again, repetitive information, but those of you that live in these areas need to know about this stuff. If you've noticed, this has moved more to the east before it kind of ended right around here from New Orleans to about Panama. That area that we were speaking about earlier, and now it's down by St. Petersburg, Sarasota, and Fort Myers. And keep in mind, the reasons for this is because when we have counterclockwise spinning storms, it pulls water and then it dishes water out into the closest landmass. So technically there's going to be some hits going on here, and it's almost going to skip this area because it kind of dips in. Not saying at all that this area won't be choppy and rough, it absolutely will, but that's how this this works. So then when you get the spin this way, clearly there's going to be water being shot out this way like this, the storm surge and stuff like that. That's how we determine how bad storm surge may be. And then you have those storms that just go straight into land and just cause total chaos. So here are our current numbers on Alberto. We are still a subtropical storm that could change at any moment. We are 35 knots. That is 40 miles per hour. Not too far away from that tropical storm force. We are pretty low in pressure, which is interesting because when the pressure drops, that means the next thing to go up is the wind speed. I know there are air flights going through this hurricane. There is a actual map on a few different websites, spaghettymodels.com. Tropical Tidbit shows it sometimes. They actually show the paths of the airplanes going through these storms, which is pretty interesting and fun to watch because right after they land is usually when we get the update in our data. So we can clearly see that this thing has already passed, at least the low pressure part of it, which is the central area of the storm, has passed Cancun, it's passed Cuba, and now we are in the Gulf. So now what happens here is the most important part of watching this storm because all this area is very warm, perfect conditions for the strengthening of these storms, and just depending on how quickly it can get its act together with its landmass interactions or some of the bands hitting Florida, which has already begun, especially in the Keys in South Florida. It's all going to depend on how strong and how fast this thing develops. And yes, it is taking on a Nate type quality. A lot of comments below saying this reminds them of Nate. I completely agree. I do believe Nate was a bit stronger at this point in its path. It was a fast traveling storm, but it did come straight up almost to the Great Lakes. So That was quite interesting. Once again, another chart you guys are used to, but you're starting to see that moisture just really starting to rise into the southeast of the U.S. Got another moisture system like we were talking about before moving over Texas, producing a lot of lightning. Actually, I'm wrong about that. I was getting that confused with the area where New Orleans and Mississippi and Alabama are. Whether that's from storm fronts coming off the waves of the actual storm itself, or if that's a totally separate system itself, but just basically a lot of moisture, a lot of fuel, a lot of reason for this storm to come north and have plenty to do once it gets into the east part of the country. There's going to be a lot of rain, a lot of soaking going on for a couple days once this storm makes it into about midweek. So we're going to keep an eye on that as well. We're going to keep an eye on this throughout the day, guys. I'll jump on anytime I have to relay important information. These spaghetti plots are getting tighter and tighter. We're talking this could be a possible 3-state hit because of the small borders and coastlines that are in the Gulf here, so that gives this storm the opportunity to actually strike 2 states at once, possibly 3. But then again, it doesn't matter. If you're in a 75 to 150 mile an hour radius around any of these storms, you are directly affected, and that is something that will probably become popular in the news soon, is how to prepare. You guys know me. It's always have a plan, be prepared, and stay safe, of course, because that's the most important thing. Better safe than sorry, and I've said this many times, but I do not ask people to go spend their own money. I should hope that everyone makes their own judgment calls, but that's just my advice. Anytime hurricanes come up to the northeast where I live, I prepare and just have basic plans. It's better than nothing, guys, and you never know what these storms are going to do. So anyway, with that ramble, let's take a look at tropical tidbits. We are producing a storm in the Pacific Ocean according to at least this model run, which is the FV3 GFS. If you guys remember, I showed you a bunch of the models. They're all in agreement about where ALBERTO is going to go. We could see ALBERTO forming right there, and this is about current time now, maybe a little less, about right there. So yeah, there we go, Saturday. Now by Sunday, we start to see that heavy red color, and then Sunday is when we get our clear rotation. This is going to be crunch time to depend on how strong this storm is going to be by the time it strikes what it looks like the Panhandle, Mississippi, and Alabama, like we've been talking about. So that's what we have to look forward to. And then really quick before I let you guys go, the model here is actually predicting a significant hurricane to actually form in the Pacific. This is very far into the future. We cannot rely on this information, but still interesting enough to watch. By June 7th, we have a pretty significant storm right there, 987 as pressure, and that just continues to drop. We are in the 960s, 954, and about right there was the strongest point. But what's interesting is it comes up to the Baja, and it either wants to go into that little gully there or wants to go around back, and that would put maybe California at risk. So that's enough for now, guys. Sorry to drag this on, but I just want to update you on the state of emergency. Everyone stay safe, please. Florida, don't take this lightly. Could be a long season. Just do your basic preps now. That's all I got to say. Thank you very much, guys. Talk to you all later this evening. Bye-bye.